Welcome back to Busy Watching Women's Soccer. I'm Bridie O'Toole, here to break down some of the new tactics we saw in the U.S. Women's National Team matchup against Italy. We have seen a lot of flavors of attacking left backs in this system, but check out Emily Fox. She's going to take on a very different role in this match, and we see her there drifting high up the pitch even as the ball is being sent backwards. Kind of unusual for what we typically see her doing. So she's going to drift off screen. She doesn't really end up playing a big part in this sequence, but what we're going to break down later is how she's getting involved without really doing anything. So we just see her kind of holding the width, getting involved in the play there right at the end. It's interesting stuff. Let's go ahead and actually look at the goal itself first, because it's a pretty good goal. I like seeing Real getting more comfortable with this team. Lavelle just looks like herself. This is a lovely technique-driven pass from Alyssa Thompson to a darting Moultrie. Really good, cohesive stuff from the U.S. early on. Sometimes we've seen these goals be a little sloppy from them, but this was perfect. Coming back to Emily Fox, we have a few context clues to tell us that something is different about her role this time. Firstly, check out Coffey and Fox. They are pretty much swapped in terms of where I would expect them to be. And then on this offensive sequence, that's a lot of drive and a lot of intensity in Emily Fox's game. And then as we transition here, also a lot of drive, a lot of intensity in that transition. But now that Italy are really on the ball, she's kind of lost that drive. And look who has it instead. It's Sam Coffey. She is really powering down that field. So that tells me something about the defensive responsibilities, the transition responsibilities, the offensive responsibilities. Something is slightly different about all of those. For both of those two players, we're getting another pretty good context clue when this ball runs out for a throw. Now, I genuinely think the U.S. coaching team are pretty good about, trying to keep instructions to a minimum. But here early on, we see two coaches, right, take the opportunity to give positional instructions. That's what those hand movements are. It's always positional stuff to Coffey and Fox. So there is definitely some different expectations this time out. After those instructions, the team looks a little bit tidier, and we get a really good look at what Emily Fox is responsible for doing. So as this play progresses on her far side of the pitch, we're going to find her behind two lines of Italian defense. So she is behind them vertically, and she's also within those lines horizontally. As this play is going to progress, we're going to see moves backwards, and as it moves backwards, right, all the Italian defenders now try to step up. But look where Fox ends up in that movement. She's now in line, right, with the first Italian line, and she's also wider. Why is she doing this? Well, she is essentially setting the defensive structure for the Italians. By moving there, she's kind of forcing them to stay in line with her, keep an eye on her, track the width, and look how narrow the whole rest of the U.S. structure is. So Emily Fox is really the only outlier. If we were to put a box around all those white players, she's the only outlier out wide. Again, very demanding for her because she needs to be on in these transitional moments. But I mean, she is a top outside back internationally, and if you want to run this type of sequence, this is a player to do it with. I also want you to get a feel for when the U.S. are having Emily Fox do this. So right now they're building out. The ball is on the left side of the pitch. She's holding space on the right-hand side of the pitch. Even as the ball is getting sent back, I know it's hard to follow here, but you can kind of instinctively tell just based on where the Italians are. She's still up very high. She has not come any lower in that sequence, and right there, it's because she maintained that width, because she maintained that depth, it allows that ball to be played in behind and keeps this sequence alive. So as things reset here, we're also going to get a little bit of a sense as to why. So right here, I'm going to pause it with Coffey, and you get a sense for just how many Italians are behind the ball so quickly. Not just behind the ball, but also in the penalty box. So when we talk about a low block, this is the low block. This is why it's so hard to break down. And Emily Fox understanding, if she needs to be here or she needs to be here based on the context that the Italians are presenting. I think she did a really wonderful job with that. And it's small things about her positioning that keep that sequence alive. And going back to the goal, this just gives you another idea of the benefit of maintaining both the depth, the width of the structure. But right here, as Moultrie makes contact, you're going to see the U.S. are choosing to play their game in a very small section of the pitch. They essentially only have Emily Fox, Emily Sonnet outside of the structure, the area they're choosing to play in, and this gives the U.S. so much more control over where that low block is, and then it also gives them space to try and break down the low block. So Emily Fox's role is going to be very, very important going into these matches where the U.S. are just going to face low block after low block after low block. This is my last Emily Fox clip for you, but I had to include it because it is just so ridiculous. So she's actually going to start out kind of in the right back position, just as expected. But this is a pretty aggressive run across the pitch, and she just keeps going with it. Ball ends up with our left back, who's now going to dribble quite a bit up the pitch. And I had to pause here because it just was so ridiculous. The position Fox is in is, I mean, maybe where you would expect to see an attacking midfielder in this sequence, especially if you're playing a 4-3-3. And then this pass is going to be from the left back to the right back in the opponent's half. It just blows my mind how flexible and fluid Fox's game was, and it was a really big difference from what we've seen previously. Very cool stuff. I think the purpose of all of this movement and change from Emily Fox is to help break down the low block, which is why I think Emma Hayes is not going to be completely satisfied with this win. Is a lot of the best chances created by this team were transitional chances. This is still the identity of this team. They are still going to fight really aggressively in the midfield. They're still really talented, skillful players that are able to connect the dots through just insane individual skilled sequences. But again, overall, I think the best chances in this match were really created from transitional opportunities and from the U.S. just continuing to do what they do so well. So again, this is not much of a critique, right? Like, you want this part of everybody's game to be on point, but it's the balls in behind that, created goal 2 and goal 3 to some extent. This one maybe not quite as transitional because it does come off a free kick reset. We can argue about it being onside or offside. It really doesn't matter for the friendlies. But again, it's another ball slightly in behind. Fantastic ball, great technique-driven ball, but I think the U.S. can pat themselves on the back for continuing to do what they've done really well. But I also think there are probably some conversations around, we really want to see us progress at breaking down those low blocks. Defensively, I think there's a lot for this team to be proud of. We did see this set piece opportunity present itself to Italy very early on, kind of continuing some themes from previous matches, but I do think that got cleaned up. The other thing, however, Italy did sense some of that space left behind by Emily Fox, tried to exploit that, but check out how organized Girma is there, making sure the spacing between her, Real, Sonnet, really good. This opportunity, I feel like we've seen present itself a couple times, not enough pressure when the ball's right on the edge of those corner areas outside of the box, but I do think Italy did not manage to take advantage of that this time. Where I think they were really clever is these transitional opportunities. Like, this is just a smart ball, placing that immediately between Girma and Sonnet. Luckily, this one works out, but they saw that happen. They took that information in, and they try and create a very similar opportunity a few minutes later. This one, much closer. And again, you don't normally want to put Naomi Girma in a foot race, but they had a good start, good little head start there. Girma does a really good job staying calm, getting her leg out in front to control space there. Again, I think this was a tight game defensively. There were some good opportunities created, but overall, I think goalkeeper, center backs, outside backs, they have a lot to be proud of, and this was a really tidy game from them. We had 2 more debuts under Emma Hayes. First was Jameese Joseph from the Chicago Stars. Nice to see Chicago Stars player back on this roster. She got a few minutes, decent amount of time. Her first play, her first touch comes from Emily Fox. Maybe not the best touch there, but understandable for your first one. However, I think she just kind of allows the nerves to dissipate, stays with the play. And this one I was very happy to see. Not an immediate pass back, looking to create opportunities, sees what's being presented, wins a nice corner there. I thought that was a good first outing. We'll see a little bit more from her later. Our other debut was Kate Weisner, who had such an incredible run of play going into the NWSL Championship, so it's very nice to see her rewarded for that. I think she looked pretty easy and pretty relaxed. I like, her understanding there of the positioning and how she needs to be supporting the play. Things are going to get a little tight here, but she doesn't really have much panic in her game, just keeps her positioning very active to make sure that she's able to support. Always happy to see that. Similar idea here. We see Weisner in a really good position, understanding how she is supposed to be supporting, build up, build out. Thing is, the sequence is going to end in a foul, as they so often do when Alyssa Thompson is on the ball, because what else are you going to do? But I was super surprised to see Weisner standing over this ball, mostly because there's not a lot of time to practice set pieces in camp, and you getting reps means somebody else probably isn't getting reps. And then I understood it as soon as she kicked this. It's a left-footed delivery, and Emma Hay is just a traditionalist about getting left-footed delivery on that left side. Also like this one from Weisner, understanding those defensive responsibilities, how she's supposed to be supporting the play. And Joseph here, just really nice, really calm in a tricky position. Thought we saw really good stuff from both of them overall. Did see a little bit more defensive action from Weisner. This one starts off not the best, but she sticks with it, really calm. So again, overall, just good stuff from both of them. I think they both got a decent amount of time, and we actually got to see them play. So really well managed introductions, and they both look good. I think we're going to see more from both of them. Overall, really good win for the US, and I think as we start to get some stronger opponents, start to get a little bit closer to 2027, we are going to get to see more tactics, new things, changes, and it was a really exciting match. Genuinely enjoyed this one a lot. Thank you so much for checking this out. I hope you had a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving, or if you're not in the US, a wonderful, pre-holiday season. And I will see you soon.